Hi, hello everyone. First of all, thank you so much for taking out time and joining our webinar. My name is Sheikh Minhajuddin. I am a textile graduate and I have been working in testing and certification industry since last 18 years. And I have expertise in the textile softline testing as well as regulations for different countries. Great. So today we are going to talk about So today we are going to talk about textile fiber labeling for EU market. So basically we'll be covering the regulation, the fiber names that need to be used for labeling, and also the expression of the fiber composition. The regulation is EU regulation number 1007/2011, and according to this regulation, every textile product has to be labeled with its constituent fiber composition. Now, in the laboratory, what we do testing. In testing, we can find out different fiber composition of the component of the product, that what kind of constituent fibers are there in the product. However, if we look at the label of the product, it might be a bit different. Some component may not be used on the label, or some component completely excluded, or some are displayed in a different way. So basically, all these guidelines has been described in this regulation. This regulation also provides the testing procedures which normally laboratory use to determine the fiber composition. So today, actually, we'll be focusing how to represent fiber composition on the label. Let's talk about the scope of this regulation. Mainly, this regulation covers textile product. So when we talk about the textile product, this basically includes products that completely made of textile fibers, or at least it contains 80% by weight textile fibers. Furniture, umbrella, sunshade coverings that contains 80% by weight of textile components, that is also covered by this regulation. The other textile components which constitute at least 80% by weight, that is also covered by these regulations, that is such as upper layer of multi-layer floor coverings, mattress coverings, also coverings of camping goods. Also textile incorporated in other products, those are actually specified on the label, that is also covered by this regulation. The regulation excludes certain products as well as textile products, those are contracted out to person working in their own homes or farms, where customized textile products are made by the self-employed tailors. So those products are excluded from these regulations. Apart from that, certain textile products, those are actually made of textile fibers, are excluded from the regulations for this fiber composition labeling, like sleeve supporting armbands, travel goods of textile materials such as bags and luggages, those are also excluded. Then toys are also excluded, even if it is made of textile fibers. Textile parts of footwear are also excluded. Animal clothing are excluded. So these are certain examples I have highlighted here, but the list is quite long, and you will be able to find the complete list in the Annex 5 of the regulation, which could be accessed through this regulation website link. Now, while labeling the textile product, it is essential to use only the specific fiber name that is listed in the Annexure 1 of the regulation. And some examples are like wool, cotton, silk, flax or linen, polyester, modal, viscose, elastane. So these are some examples commonly used in the textile product in fashion industry. But apart from that, there are quite a big list of textile fiber name, which is given in the Annexure 1. You can access through the link. and you can use them. But you have to take care of this, that certain terminologies which is commonly used in the industry or maybe some other country which permits that may not be accepted in European Union, such as rayon. Rayon is permitted in United States, but in Europe you have to use viscose. But on the other hand, it is fact that US, they also accept viscose. So you have to be very careful while using such terminologies for European Union market. Like spandex, spandex is not allowed in European Union. You have to use as elastin, but spandex is like say allowed in United States. Lurex, it is not the generic name which is permitted in EU regulation. Instead of using that, you have to use a metallic or metallized fiber or yarn. We have often noticed that people used bamboo, like bamboo bed sheets, bamboo towel, terry towel, but bamboo is not the fiber name. Basically, the fiber which is generated from the bamboo, it is regenerated, that is viscose. So viscose is the right terminology that has to be used on the textile fiber labeling. But if someone want to advertise that the viscose is generated from the bamboo, and this kind of information has to be given separately, but it shall not be mixed with the textile fiber name in the textile fiber labeling. Now, organic cotton and recycled polyester, these are also, we have noticed, quite often used in the industry, but these are not the right way to use in the textile fiber labeling as a fiber name. The name should be used cotton instead of organic cotton for fiber labeling. And in case of recycled polyester, you have to use polyester for fiber labeling. But if you want to advertise such kind of marketing claim like organic cotton or recycled polyester, provided such claim is validated and substantiated and not misleading. So such marketing claims should be dealt separately, should be displayed separately from the textile fiber labeling. As I have said that the expression of the fiber composition of the textile product, it is a bit different as compared to its actual composition of the fiber content. So we'll now talk about the various way how to represent the textile fiber label on the product in a right manner. That we'll be discussing in the next subsequent slides. The first one is the pure textile product. So what we understand by the pure textile product is that if a textile product is entirely made up of one fiber, that is called the pure textile product, like say 100% cotton or 100% polyester or 100% wool. So these are called the pure product, pure cotton product or pure wool product. So there are certain criteria we have to understand that when such products are labeled as 100% cotton or 100% wool, so this product has to be exclusively made up of single fiber. In case of any extraneous fiber or contamination is there, that cannot be more than 2%. Means, so during the manufacturing process, if some fibers are mixed in the yarn, maybe say along with cotton, the polyester has been mixed, so it cannot be 2% or more. So it has to be less than 2%. So that can be excluded. So it means that if the extraneous fiber present say 1.5%, for example, still you can label it as 100%. But one thing need to be considered that such fiber is not added as a matter of routine. These are just an extraneous fiber accidentally mixed with the fabric. Now, in case of carded fiber like carded cotton, so carding basically is on procedures in the textile spinning, and during that process there are chances of mixture of other fibers. So if cotton fibers are passed through the carding process, So then maximum 5% extraneous fiber are permitted instead of 2. So if carding process is there, up to 5% can be excluded for the pure textile product. That means if it is a carded cotton fiber, and if you found, say, the 3% or 4% other extraneous fiber, then it can still be labeled as 100% cotton. Now, often we know that, okay, we label 100% wool. So 100% wool can be labeled for product that is made up of wool. Now, if someone want to specify the fleece wool or virgin wool, that means it is a new wool to the consumer. So there are certain criteria has to be fulfilled. So if virgin wool or fleece wool are claimed, so the product has to be made up of only new wool. It cannot contain any reclaimed or recycled wool fiber. Now, if such wools are in a mixture of the fiber mixture or blended product, and if we want to claim such fleece wool or virgin wool, so then these product should contain only the new wool fibers, and also the minimum content of the wool fiber has to be 25%. It cannot be less than 25% new wool. And maximum 0.3% contamination, that extraneous fibers are permitted. In case of multiple fiber product, that means when a product is made up of more than one fibers, which is also known as a blended fabric. So in this case, each constituent fiber has to be labeled in a descending order of their percentage. Like in the example, you can see in the right-hand side, 65% polyester, then 31% cotton, 4% elastin. So the 65, 31, 4. So in this descending order has to be maintained. It cannot be changed, like 31% cotton, 65% polyester, and 4% elastin. That would be wrong. So right as it is shown in the label. So it always has to be in the descending order of their constituent composition. Now, in case any fiber which is present in an amount which is less than 5% by weight, that can be designated by other fibers. But of course, if it is elastin has a functional properties, so everyone want to disclose it as a marketing purpose. So elastin, normally it is disclosed with their fiber name. However, any fiber which is present in less than 5%, that can also be represented as other fibers. If more than one fibers are there, and individually each present less than 5%, so collectively up to 15%, we can still provide other fibers. Now, there are certain kind of products, like one example in this slide we have shown. It is called chindi rag. And this kind of rag actually made up of textile scraps. And this kind of textile scraps actually collected from different factories, and such kind of rugs are made from those kind of fabrics. Therefore, the fiber composition of such kind of product is not very consistent from one product to other. So it varies from product to product. So therefore, it is very hard to determine the fiber composition of such kind of product. So in such scenario, the regulation permits to use the terminology like mixed fibers or unspecified textile composition. So in such case, you are not required to label the product with exact fiber composition of cotton or polyester, whatever could be the fiber composition. You can just simply write unspecified textile composition. I think that makes also sense, because if we check one product, if we get a specific fiber composition, that composition would not resemble to other products. So therefore, all the label would be wrong. And in case there is a new fiber which is not listed in Annex 1, as I have said that only fiber name which is represented in Annex 1, that has to be used. But if there is a new fiber which is not yet listed in Annex 1, that would be represented as other fibers. Often we use decorative fibers in the fabrics, which could be isolable and purely decoration purpose. And if such decorative fibers are used to less than 7% by weight, so those kind of fibers are not required to be considered in the fiber composition, which means this can be completely excluded from the fiber labeling, that particular fibers. Only the base component can be disclosed on the label. Also, certain fabric can have metallic fibers for the anti-static effect, and if such metallic fibers or similar fibers are used anti-static effect and they present less than 2% by weight, so that fiber also need not to be considered in the fiber composition. So that can be excluded. If this fabric is made up of 100% polyester and let's say 1.5% metallic fiber is added for anti-static effect, so still this fabric can be labeled as 100% polyester, because the fiber, metallic fiber, which is used for the anti-static effect, and that can be excluded as it is present less than 2% by weight. Now, multi-component textile product means a product which has a multiple component or multiple fabrics which has different fiber composition. Like in the shirt, you can see this jacket. It has a shell fabric which is made of different fiber composition, and a main lining that is also a different fabric. So in this case, each component should be disclosed separately for fiber composition. But this sectional disclosure is not compulsory in case of it is not a main lining or any component which is present less than 30% by weight, which means if it is a main lining, then it is necessary and compulsory to disclose it separately. Like in the example, you can see in the right-hand side top picture, the outer shell and lining. So outer shell is made of polyester, viscose, elastane, that is disclosed separately. A lining is made of 100% polyester, which is separately disclosed. So in this way, it has to be disclosed. In the second picture, if we look at the pillow, it has 4 different fabric, but not all this fabric represent more than 30% by weight. So in such scenario, it is not compulsory to disclose each fabric, each section separately. But what needs to be done, it cannot be completely excluded, that all over fiber composition need to be disclosed. Even each fabric has a different fiber composition. So as a whole of the product, these kind of fiber composition need to be disclosed. We often have noticed that certain textile product may contain some components which is made up of animal origins. Like it could have some buttons or toggles which made of bones, or it could have some leather patch which could be attached on the garment. So leather patch or bones or shell buttons, this kind of components actually originated from the animal. Therefore, this statement like contains non-textile part of animal origin. So this statement has to be present on the label. So if any textile product contains such component, so this statement mandatorily need to be indicated. There are certain special provisions in the textile fiber labeling. Now we'll be talking one by one, the few with the examples. Like often we have noticed that garment has embroidery. So in case of embroidered textiles, and if embroidery is present more than 10% by surface area, then such embroidery need to be disclosed separately. Like in the first example, if we look, embroidery is more than 10% by area. Therefore, the fiber labeling need to be given as base 100% cotton, embroidery 100% viscose. Similarly, on the other product, in the second right-hand side product, it has embroidery, but total area, surface area of the embroidered portion is not more than 10%. It is less than 10%. So in this case, it is not necessary to consider the embroidery part. So you can just label as 100% cotton. In case of velvet or plush textiles, it may have base fiber different, and also the surface pile would have made of different fiber. So in this case, the pile as well as the base fiber can be stated separately if required. Otherwise, as a whole can also be disclosed, both the fiber together. In case of floor coverings, only used surface need to be disclosed in the fiber level. The backing and other material need not to be considered for fiber composition if backing even made up of the textile component. Like pile 100% wool. That means the used surface is wool pile, and that need to be disclosed. So backing is not required to be disclosed yet. Now, in case of other textiles, there are certain components which is used in the product while manufacturing, such as buttons, elastic threads, then badge, buckles, also some bands in the waist area. So these kind of trimmings are not necessary to consider into the textile fiber composition. And there is a lot of list of such kind of components in the Annex 7, point number A. You can find inside the regulation. There are multiple such kind of list of components that is completely excluded. Often we know that, okay, fabric, when it is manufactured, it has certain kind of finishes like fatty substances, binders. So those kind of substances are not necessary to consider in fiber composition calculation. As I have said, for floor coverings, except used surface, other components are not required to consider in the fiber composition. In case of socks, we know that there is a cuff, and in cuff often we use the elastic thread. So elastic threads in the cuff are not required to consider while disclosing the fiber composition. And if we use certain stiffening and reinforcement yarn in the heel and toe area of socks or tights, so that is also excluded. But we need to remember that only the reinforcement yarn used in the toe and heel area, that is excluded, but heel and toe are not at all excluded. Other fibers, other yarns, that has to be disclosed. All other textiles, if we see any filling material is there, which is not for the insulation purpose. Maybe I can give you one example, like if it is a blazer, and in the shoulder, if there is a padding for the stiffening purpose, by using the filling material, those kind of padding is not necessary to consider in the fiber composition. But in case of a jacket, if it is completely filled for insulation purpose, then the filling material need to be disclosed in the fiber composition. Interlining, canvas backing in case of embroidered portions or any other stitching threads, this kind of components are not required to consider while calculating fiber composition. During all this laboratory analysis, the regulation allow 3% manufacturing tolerance. So what does it mean actually? If we test the product for fiber composition, let's take this example, 80% cotton and 20% polyester. And now if we test in the laboratory, if laboratory result found that cotton ranges between the 77 to 83%, and polyester ranges from 23 to 17%, then this label would be correct. Then label would be still valid. But in case if we see cotton is 76%, which is beyond 3% tolerance, then the label would not be correct. Label would not be acceptable. So this 3% tolerance is allowed in case of blend. Now, how to put the label on the product? So that is another question. We'll talk about this here. The label or marking on textile products shall be durable, and it has to be easily legible, visible, and accessible. Accessible should be at the point of sale. That means the label should be affixed at a location of the garment or product in such a way that it should be easily visible and accessible by the consumers. Like often we use fiber composition at the center back neck of the garment. In case of pant, we use waist label, which is easily accessible and visible by the consumer. Print on the label should be uniform with regards to size, style, and font. So it cannot have the varying size or style for the fiber composition. It should be uniform. The labeling and marking shall be provided in the official language of the European Union's member state. So if the product is being sold to France or other countries, so those countries' specific official language has to be used on the label. It is okay to use a multiple language on the same label. That is completely acceptable. Where two or more product which has the same fiber content, or such kind of product are sold as a one unit or as a pair. For example, in case of hosiery product like socks or gloves, which is always sold in a pair. So in that case, only one product, one component can be labeled. Not both the pair need to be labeled separately. Only one pair can be labeled. And also, I'd like to share with you, if the label is not visible or accessible, if it is sold in a package, if it is not accessible during the sale point, so then the label has to be, fiber label has to be printed on the packaging itself as well. It has to be repeated. So thank you so much for your attention. Now, if you have any question, please feel free to ask in the chat box. Thank you so much. Over to you, Claire.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Sheikh. Fantastic presentation. We have had several questions in. A few of them are very similar. So, and I think it's really to do with the term organic or recycled, which you picked up at the beginning of the presentation. So the question is, if we're reducing a travel bag or any other type of bag that is excluded from the scope, so it's not mandatory to label them with the fiber, is it okay then to use the term organic or recycled along with the fiber name if it's not under the scope on the care label?
Okay. Yes, a travel bag is actually excluded from the textile fiber labeling regulation. But one thing need to be remembered that if someone do not label it, it is okay, acceptable in European Union. But if someone is putting a label, fiber label on the excluded product, then it has to fulfill the requirement of EU regulation. And it has to be labeled according to the fiber name that is present in the Annex 1. Now questions on the recycled or organic fiber. These are specific marketing claim, and such kind of terminologies are not allowed to be used along with the fiber name in fiber labeling disclosure. You cannot claim 100% say recycled polyester. You have to write like this 100% polyester, that as a fiber labeling. Now, if you want to disclose recycled polyester, then it has to be disclosed separately, provided such information is not misleading and this is not deceptive.
Perfect, that's great. So you are able to use the term organic and recycled for marketing, but you cannot use those terminology upon a care label, even if it's excluded from the scope. You just use the textile names that are allowed and are listed. So,
Yes.
for example, organic cotton will just have cotton on there, even if it's excluded. But on any marketing, then you are allowed to use the term organic or recycled. Plus, we'll have the disclaimer here as well, that you must be able to prove that it is organic or it is recycled content.
Yes. So in case of organic cotton claim, so that kind of claim they can, that kind of marketing claim, they can claim separately from the fiber labeling, and such kind of claim has to be substantiated with proper process, because there are a lot of other process available in the market to substantiate such kind of claims. And it should not be misleading.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Yep.
Now, we have run over very slightly by a couple of minutes, so apologies for that. We do have a few other questions in, but what we will do is we'll get back to you on, we'll follow up on those questions after the webinar has finished. Just as a reminder to let you know, this webinar has been recorded and will be available on demand, and a copy of the slides will also be available as well and will be sent out. If in the meantime you do come across with any other questions that you may want to ask, or if you want to go into any more details, then please do drop us a line and we'll be happy to help. So therefore, in the meantime, many thanks, Sheikh, for your help. Many thanks everyone for joining us. And just one last thing, this is a mini series, and next week, if you're interested, we'll be talking through care labeling on fibres. So if you haven't registered for that already, please do so. The details are on the LinkedIn page. Right, thank you very much, everybody, and have a lovely day.
Thank you.